Go ahead with the state of the town.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So good evening, and thank you all for joining us for the 2024 State of the Town. I'm John Listician, the town manager, and I am joined this evening by the staff leadership team, all of whom will be presenting this evening. I'm to report, as the mayor said, per the charter, on the state of the town's affairs. And I am pleased to report to the mayor and council and the community that the town is in a strong position. And we're strong because of our residents and our businesses, our elected leadership, and while I am biased, because of an incredible staff team. We're not without our challenges, setbacks, struggles, disappointments, and loss. This past year, loss has been center, at least since the loss of 2 children in a tragic accident this past night. We've had other losses as well, whether through senseless acts of violence over the last few years or other tragic traffic accidents. Those losses help define who we are. They inform our decisions and our direction as a community and as a town. We are also informed by our successes, our research, our growth, and we are guided by our vision and commitment statements. The mayor and council has outlined, with input from the community and staff, what it is that we are working to become. This shared vision, this identity, is captured in the vision and commitment statements. Director Barnes, I don't know who's controlling the screen, but if they can go as I am speaking, please. So we have these various vision and commitment statements: housing and neighborhoods, sustainability, business and economic development, infrastructure. Arts and recreation, community engagement and transparency, employee development, transportation, ethical governance, best practices, technology, and data. These aspirational statements, the attainment of these aspirational statements, will make us the community of choice. That's our vision, to be the community of choice for our residents, businesses, visitors, and employees. And we are fortunate to have these statements to guide us. But we also have one policy that I'd like to point out above the others, and that's our diversity and inclusion. It's one thing to say that a community is diverse, and we'll hear more about our diversity when we talk about our demographics and who we are as an organization later on in this presentation. But it takes effort to embrace diversity and to be inclusive. And the town does that. And we'll hear more about that as we talk about our communication efforts tonight, our events, bringing a diverse community together. And we don't do this important work alone. We have partners, and it's important that we pause to acknowledge our own elected leadership, our town residents, Prince George's County government, the state of Maryland, the District 22 delegation, and then our nonprofit and community partner. Among them, Riversdale House Museum, the incredible things that they are partnering with us on now. Hyattsville CDC, our partner in our public arts programming. Our volunteer fire department, CCAR, the Riverdale Farmers Market, Inc., Riverdale Park Arts, and our partners in the faith community. together, we have a community focus. And as I mentioned, we'll hear from the leadership team, but we have I would say, an unbreakable community focus. I've been with the town for a little over 7 years. And the outward focus that the town has, that neighbors have for each other, that the elected leaders have instilled in the staff team. Look out for the community, be forward thinking, anticipate what you can, prepare, lead. Tonight, we're going to talk about some highlights. Can't talk about all the programs. I'm going to try to keep the presentation to about an hour and 15 minutes or so, plus questions and answers. And so we're going to highlight. And one such program is the Walk, Bike, Drive Safety Initiative. This program has taken on new meaning since the accident back in November. New urgency since the accident in November. Now, this program was created in 2019 to improve safety for all of us as we move about the community. So Director Lewis is going to walk us through some priority projects, as well as potential projects for the Safe Streets for All grant. Director Lewis.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Good evening, everyone. Since the launch of the town's Walk, Bike, Drive initiative in 2019, staff has identified several projects to address unsafe and potentially unsafe conditions for pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists, and other micro-mobility users throughout our town. The projects on this list are several of our largest and most important Walk, Bike, Drive projects in the current fiscal year 2024 CIP, or Capital Improvement Program. The first two projects, the Town Center Trail and Parking Lot redesign and the Tolley Place Lafayette Avenue redesign, are part of our Town Center road network. And when completed, will provide a safer environment for all users. I'll provide a bit more information on these projects later in the presentation. The Queensberry Pedestrian Walkway Project, another high priority project, seeks to provide a safer route for parents and school children using Queensberry to get to and from Riverdale Elementary School. This is an essential Walk, Bike, Drive project in light of the community's tragic loss of two of its youngest members late last year. The Trolley Trail is not only a recreational trail, but a commuter route for some. I'm very happy to report that the last phase of the lighting project along the trail will be completed by the end of this June. And the 47th Avenue and 48th Avenue sidewalk projects, as well as new curb ramps and crosswalk installations in high pedestrian travel areas, are also priority projects under Walk, Bike, Drive. Next slide, please. The town, in a joint application with Edmonston, as you know, received the Safe Streets for All grant for just under $800,000. The program allows for and actually encourages quick build projects as a way to test the effectiveness of improvements in creating a safer environment for all, particularly our most vulnerable. Staff is considering several possible quick build projects. This slide shows 5 types of those projects and where they might be effective. Painted or raised crosswalks are being considered for locations with high pedestrian activity. 3 such locations on Riverdale Road and Queensberry Crossing at the Town Center. Curb extensions for Taylor Road at East West Highway. The existing curve is very narrow on the east-west corner, and students literally collect there after school, waiting to cross 410 at the end of the school day. Other locations might also benefit from this approach, and they will be identified as part of the planning project that's also funded by the grant. Mid-block crosswalks, we're considering this quick build project for 54th Avenue in our multifamily community. Painted bike paths, these are already planned for the bike path on Rivertech Court and in the Riverdale Park Station community. and is also being considered for the existing bike path on Riverdale Road. And lastly, at this point, in our planning, painted sidewalks on Bill Circle and on Quintana and Patterson Streets for safe access to the Riverdale Park Kenilworth Purple Line Station. Staff expects to identify other quick build projects with input from our on-call engineers, our new advisory committee, and members of the community. Thank you, and I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you very much for that summary, Director Lewis. So on the advisory committee, this is a really incredible step. And it's going to help move us forward and give us the necessary input from the community. The other thing I want to highlight here is the response. The response from the community to become involved has been overwhelming. To have more volunteers than what a committee can hold. We look forward to plugging folks in that are not on the first round of this committee, but still want to be involved. We look forward to plugging them into other initiatives to help move the town forward. Now, I do want to talk about what staff believe should be new in 2025 as it relates to the Walk, Bike, Drive initiative. And throughout tonight's presentation, we're going to be proposing a number of things, things that I typically would have held for the budget. But I think it's important to present some ideas here. So new in 25, we have the previously approved by the mayor and council enhanced automated enforcement, the red light camera program. Mayor and council authorized that program. We've negotiated a contract. The contract has been signed. We're meeting with the vendors. That program is moving forward. We spoke with the mayor and council just a number of weeks ago about a proposed addition to the automated speed enforcement. And this would be moving from enforcing speed with the automated system Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. to enforcing the same standard throughout the week, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. What we've heard from our vendor is that at least on some of our streets, there are more individuals violating the town's speed limits during the off hours than they are Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And staff would recommend to the mayor and council that we adopt the change to the program to have 24/7 automated speed enforcement. Also new is the automated parking permits and enforcement. The same contractor that we're working with for the red light camera enforcement, we're working with on the parking permits and enforcement program. This will give officers the opportunity to quickly, much more quickly, enforce parking regulations. And that's important. As officers are pulled to more high priority calls, it's important to be able to respond to a call quickly, take action, and get back in service. We're also proposing what we are calling a community safety specialist. This is a new sworn position in the police department to assist with automated enforcement, to assist with outreach to our schools, to assist with education, to assist with other traffic enforcement. And when the county does not have proper staffing for crossing guards, to be an extra police officer to be able to handle those assignments in the morning and afternoon as well. And then the last new proposal as it relates to Walk, Bike, Drive is to create a sustainable funding source for Walk, Bike, Drive CIP-related projects. I've been saying for the last several months that I believe that this is going to be a tough budget year and that the town needs to consider increasing its tax rate in order to fund fiscal 2025. Well, I'm happy to report that the staff budget team has managed to come up with a plan for 2025 that on the operating side, we do not need a tax increase to fund operations. However, I am suggesting to the council to establish a tax rate increase to fund walk, bike, drive related CIP projects. And in the fiscal 25 proposed budget, we'll make a recommendation on what that increase would look like. We're still pulling some numbers together on the CIP program, but that's the mechanism that the staff team believes will be necessary to have a robust walk, bike, drive CIP program, not just in fiscal 25, but in the years ahead. I'm going to turn this back to Director Lewis. One of the things that's really important for us to understand is that we need to know what's on the ground in our community. And so, Director Lewis, if you could walk us through the preliminary infrastructure survey results that your team had put together.
Thank you. It was actually our first effort to complete a survey of sidewalks, curbs and gutters, curb ramps, and crosswalks. You've heard me say year after year the importance of doing such a survey, and I have to give credit to the town manager for actually focusing us on this over the last several months. It was actually the DPW crew that conducted the survey, and it was the first such effort for most of them, and they learned a lot. And they also have a better appreciation for infrastructure improvement needs throughout the community on these particular improvements. This slide shows the preliminary results of that survey. I'll go through the data really quickly and really talk about the opportunities that we now have with this information. There are 27 blocks without sidewalks in our community and 50 blocks with sidewalks on only one side. The survey also included a condition assessment of sidewalks. 99 of them, or 99 blocks with sidewalks. Of the 99 blocks with existing sidewalks, 64% of them were rated fair to poor in the survey. 8 blocks are missing curbs and gutters. 7 blocks have them on only one side, and 33 blocks are without curb ramps, and 87 blocks are without crosswalks. This survey creates several opportunities. The data allows us to target infill and repairs and prioritize locations with high pedestrian activities. The survey also allows the installation of all missing infrastructure at the same time on a block-by-block basis. And equally important is an opportunity to develop a multi-year plan and schedule and let residents know when they can expect these improvements on their block. Thank you. I can take questions on the survey at the appropriate time.
And I would like to keep moving and ask that we hold questions till the end. So on our CIP program, our plan, TRP has taken an ambitious approach to capital improvement, perhaps too ambitious at times, trying to get as many projects moving as we can at one time. And while some projects have not moved as quickly as we would like, others really have. And we have a lot that we can point to say that the town is investing in its infrastructure. And so Director Lewis is going to walk us through some high profile projects, but I do want to point out that in addition to these, there are many others. The 13 road improvement projects that have been completed in the past few months, the sidewalk projects in the past few months, the lighting projects in the last year. There's many projects that the mayor and council have authorized and that the town staff are working to implement. So Director Lewis, if you can give us a kind of a high level overview of some of the high profile projects.
Okay, thank you. The FY 2024 CIP has a total of 37 projects. 28 of them that we reported on at the end of last year are infrastructure projects. The other 9 are acquisitions, including vehicles, street lights, traffic signs, street furniture, and waste receptacles. I will highlight 7 infrastructure projects that are high profile and transformative. Next slide, please. The Town Center Trail and Parking Lot Redesign Project, the goal of which is to improve circulation and safety for all within the town center, specifically to create a clear and distinct pathway through the center for pedestrians and bicyclists, separate from vehicles driving into and through the center. This project is being coordinated with improvements and will be sequenced with the Natoli Lafayette redesign project, given its proximity and importance. The project is currently in the planning phase. We are identifying key stakeholders and unique ways to engage them, our government partners and opportunities. What else can we accomplish? Those things that we can accomplish in this area as part of this project that were not originally conceived as a potential part of the project. We're also looking at challenges and obstacles that we'll need to overcome, including supporting and minimizing the disruption to the maximum extent possible to existing businesses and activities in the project area once construction begins. We're also developing the project schedule. This project is fully funded with state bonds funds, and we hope to have a scope of work laid out by engineers within the next 30 or 45 days. The Natoli, next slide, please. Natoli Place Lafayette Avenue redesign. The project goal here is to provide greater clarity for drivers and improve safety for all users. As the roadways are currently configured and signed, it is very confusing for both the motorists and pedestrians. Project planning is also underway for this project. Again, we're identifying key stakeholders and ways for them to participate in the project, opportunities to coordinate with CSX, opportunities and constraints generally, and developing guiding principles, and we're working on the project schedule. Again, this project will be coordinated with the Town Center project, and construction will be sequenced or staggered for the least amount of disruption to the circulation pattern in this area. This project is funded in full with ARPA funds. The Municipal Center project, in terms of budget, this is certainly the town's largest project. The goal is to upgrade facilities in the building, establish internal connections between Town Hall and the Police Department, increase office space in both buildings, and create new meeting and activity spaces for the community, all of which we expect to meet the needs of town government and the community for years to come. Significant progress has been made both inside and outside the building. Optimistically, the project should be completed by the end of the fiscal year or June 30th. We're keeping our fingers crossed. We've identified the remaining work that needs to be completed, and the staff and resources and materials are generally in place to meet that goal. We look forward to a ceremonial reopening of Town Hall to the community. This project has multiple funding sources: state community development loans, state bond funds, ARPA funds, funds from the sale of property, and unrestricted CIP dollars. Next slide, please. The 2 single-family properties at the end of Queensberry at Taylor Road will be demolished to make way for a municipal parking lot with permeable pavement, EV charging stations. We're actually hoping we're able to fund a solar EV charging station similar to the one in the picture. In fact, that picture on the left is from Andrews Air Force Base. Lighting is also a component of the project, accessibility ramps, and operations plan for the use of the parking lot. Funding for the project also includes state community development loans, state bond funds, and unrestricted CIP dollars. We hope to receive the county's raised permit any day now and anticipate that the parking lot will be built before the end of the calendar year. Next slide, please. This is a very important project for the safety of our children and parents traveling to and from the elementary school. The goal is to create a safer passageway for them on Queensberry Road. We hope to receive a right of entry permit from the Parks Department to also install a permeable pathway through the adjacent park property that is situated between Queensberry and Riverdale Road on the east end of the school. The town's on-call engineer is preparing a scope of work and schedule for design and permitting. Funding for the project currently is limited to engineering and permitting, or will only cover engineering and permitting. Staff will seek funds through the state's Safe Route to School or through the federal government Safe Streets for All funding process for permanent improvements once the walk, bike, drive plan is completed, and we have some quick build projects to report on. But that program, I think, will support the type of improvement we're hoping to build on this section of Queensberry. Next project, please. The goal of this project is to complete several needed upgrades to the Public Works building, including a fire alarm system, a women's restroom and locker room, upgrades to the men's restroom and locker room, and redesign of entrances into the building to improve safety. This project is fully funded with ARPA dollars. Excuse me. I won't go into detail on the stormwater projects, except to say that we have 3 of them that are currently funded and a town mitigation assistance program to residents. The projects are Bill Circle East between Queensberry and East West Highway that experience flooding regularly, a tree box rain garden program to address flooding where this type of improvement can actually make a difference, and either a bioretention facility behind the municipal center buildings, or specifically town hall and the police department, or a cistern system to manage stormwater from the structures. The town received a county stewardship grant, and the funds for that are being divided between the tree box garden program and this bioretention facility or cistern program or project at the town center buildings. Funding for the projects includes state bond funds and funds from the county stewardship grant program. Let's talk park and trees. Am I a little ahead of you, Mr. Town Manager? I believe that's a little later on in the presentation. Thank you.
I think it is.
Okay.
So I'll take a few minutes just to mention 6601 Baltimore Avenue. And as Director Lewis said, we have the Municipal Center project happening now. And that's an important project. And it will serve the town and the community for a number of years. But we do anticipate outgrowing the space. And the fact is that even with this renovation, we are moving to shared office space. Finance can have their own office space, and employee services can have their own, but the rest of us are going to be sharing office space. The days of having defined space are over, and we have to move to a shared space model in order to accommodate the staff that we have and the staff that we anticipate in the next several years. Mr. Chelton. So this is what we are looking at today. If we were to look at 6601 Baltimore Avenue, that's it. That's what has stormwater running from its surface every time it rains into the adjacent Wells Run. And the town has a different vision. And that vision includes green space, a walking trail, water retention areas, to address stormwater management, to address our sustainability, but also to repurpose the buildings, to allow for community space, to allow for space for the town as an organization to grow. And so the conveyance of the property to the town will be the first step. And the town has indicated that at least 2.5 acres of that impermeable surface will be removed. And so that's something that the town is working on. You can see in this illustration an aerial of where the water retention areas are, as well as the reuse of the building. And Mr. Chelton, if you can walk us through the next several slides. It's a vast difference between what is there today and what can be there. And this project checks a lot of boxes from the vision and commitment statement. It does, right? This isn't just sustainability of the environment. This is connectivity. This is transportation, connecting, having a trail that connects. This is accessibility of our government. This is investing in our professional, well-trained employees. There's a lot to be said for this project. And the mayor has authored most recently some letters to Senator Cardin and Van Hollen and Congressman Hoyer and Congressman Ivey, asking for a joint meeting to move this project forward. And so we look forward to having a positive response from the federal elected officials. Next slide, Mr. Chelton. Next slide, Mr. Chelton. Director Chelton, if you can walk us through the pollinator gardens and the other sustainability items.
Absolutely. Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. So I'm going to start off tonight by talking about the Pollinator Garden project, one of our CIP projects. It is, we've installed the first pollinator garden at the corner of Rivertech Court and Lafayette Avenue. We've partnered with a nursery to find the plants and design the space so that the pollinator garden is as efficient as possible given the amount of space that we have at this location. And we're going to take the lessons that we've learned here and apply them to Madison Street and 47th Avenue for our second location this spring. Staff are also seeking additional locations on town-owned paper streets and alleyways in order to install additional pollinator gardens as well. Sorry, one second. There we go. Yes, the next item I wanted to talk about is the community garden food forest. The community garden was expanded last year, and then this year we've installed new signage explaining the origins of the community garden in the food forest and how it was first developed in response to the pandemic as a way to help address food insecurity in town. The signage did go pretty well with our new vendor, and so we are going to have that same vendor create educational signage for each of the plants that are located within our food forest and community garden. And we're also going to partner with that same nursery that we partnered with for the pollinator garden to expand the food forest and community garden as well. I believe the next item here was what Director Lewis was looking to talk about a little earlier, the parks and trees.
Thank you, Director Sheldon. The town has several park projects in the CIP that are in different phases of development. Adam and Emily Plummer Park, we have developed a stormwater management solution for the west end of the property, currently under review in the county's Department of Permitting, Inspection, and Enforcement, and are developing a solution to stormwater for the east side of the property and expected to submit the engineering plan to DPI within the next couple of months. Our dream is that the Lazy Meadow project can be installed by the end of the year or as soon as possible in early 2025. The 54th Place Pocket Park, the concept plan and engineering plan are both complete. A county permit is pending. Playground equipment has been ordered and is expected in April, and a contractor has been secured for the project. The 47 to Taylor Linear Park and Mount Rose Park are currently undergoing a survey of topography and utility locations, and an engineering plan is expected within the next 3 to 4 months. Construction is expected to be completed by the end of the year for both parks. We're pretty excited about that. The tree inventory and first multi-year tree management plan that the town has had, I guess, in recent times are near completion. A presentation will be made to the council and community when the final document is completed, and that is expected later this month. Additionally, a solicitation for tree planting and maintenance, or tree planting with funds from the Urban Tree Grant state program, and maintenance is on the streets currently, with proposals due this Friday, March 22nd. Proposers are asked to agree to extend their prices for tree maintenance and tree removal as may be necessary on private property to town residents. And we look forward to that, those opportunities, and staff will develop education programs and consultant services for residents for the management of trees on their property. Thank you.
So I want to talk about funding a little bit, alternative funding for CIP. As the mayor and council know, we've centralized our approach to grants and earmarks and alternative funding sources. So the applications are completed with input from the various departments. We make sure that we align the grants with the town's priorities as communicated in the vision and commitment statements, and we coordinate that with the proposed budget and our capital improvement plan. We focus on gaps in project funding and to providing structure for uniform policies, reporting, compliance, and procedures. Sometimes grant writing is the easy part, and making sure that we're in compliance and monitoring and audit requirements. That takes a lot of work after the grants are secured. So we've been successful in this new approach. In the last year, just about $1.2 million. And we're seeking additional funds. And so we are going to continue this effort. And I believe we will continue to see success. We have some talent throughout the various departments, and I am very pleased of our results so far of the 1.2. Next slide, Mr. Chairman. So if we can take a few minutes to talk about events, engagement, and outreach. It's about coming together. It's why we're here. It's coming together as community. Yes, picking up the trash and plowing snow, very important things from a town manager's perspective. But when it comes to our relevance, it goes beyond that. And it goes to bringing people together to celebrate community. I mentioned early on diversity and inclusion. We are a diverse community. Bringing us together in our events and our outreach and our engagement is vitally important to the relevance of the town. So Director Barnes, if you can walk us through what we've done, what we're doing, and what we have planned.
Certainly, my pleasure. This has been a busy and exciting year with regard to events in town. We're going to take a look back at some of the events we've held in the last year, to include our Coffee with a Cop, Trolley Trail Day, the Patio Concert Series. We've had community conversations. We had a great one on Saturday. We have walk and talks coming up in the spring. We'll continue with those. And even through to our holiday season kickoff events. So we've had old events and new events. It's been a really exciting time for the town. We've worked with our community partners to include the town of Edmonston to host a Salsa and Salsa event, which is something new that we've never done in the past, and it was wonderful. We also held our Shop with a Cop, our toy drive. Another special event that we held this year that we hope to continue in the future was a Valentine's Day luncheon for our residents at Crescent Cities. Very well received, and just a wonderful opportunity to engage with our residents who live at Crescent City Center. The next slide shows some pictures of our fun times over this last year. Trolley Trail Day, we have some pictures from our holiday luncheon, the seniors Valentine's Day luncheon, and some of the activities that were a little bit new this year. So the ice skating in Town Center, that was certainly a highlight for our holiday season kickoff event. It's been a great year, and these all build a sense of community and memories with our residents. So what can we do differently? Where are we going in the future? So we want more events, more town-sponsored events, more town-supported events. We want to grow our partnerships, expand sponsorship opportunities, increase the opportunities for volunteers to be part of these events. We'll talk about this a little bit more on April 1st when we deliver the budget, but we also are proposing a new part-time position to help us to meet the expectations of our community. Things are changing, we're growing, and the expectations are also growing. One of the ways that we engage with our residents would be through some really awesome volunteer groups. Our Board of Code Appeals, the Chiefs Community Advisory Council, the Ethics Commission, the Green Team, the Sustainability Committee, the Town Seal Design Committee, and the TRP Board of Elections. And these are very motivated, very engaged volunteers within our community that bring their specialty, their skills, to make TRP the location of choice. I'm super proud of these committees who have met monthly in some cases. We have 2 more meetings this week of the committees, and they're doing fantastic work for our community. The next slide shows some pictures of our committees at work. We don't always see these folks behind the scene, but you'll see our Board of Elections. We have our Town Seal Design Committee and our Sustainability Committee. We are so proud of the work that these committees do and all of the things that they bring to make Riverdale Park, again, the location of choice. Communications is a huge part of what we do. So part of these communication tools, the first is our town crier. I could not be more proud to say that this is now available printed in a bilingual format. This has been something that the town has worked on for a long time, let's just say that. And so it's exciting to be able to say that this is something that we've accomplished in the last year. We've also incorporated a new communication tool, the Constant Contact tool. It is, again, bilingual, it goes out every week, and this brings together information from our stakeholders, information about town events and meetings. It's just another tool to engage with our residents and bring folks into all of these great things that the town has to offer. We offer our status and information report, which is bi-weekly, also bilingual. Our social media platforms are extremely active. They'll continue to be. And then the town's website. One of the goals for next year would be a revamping of the town's website, but it's an important tool that we use to engage and share information with our residents. The next slide is just an example of how we're using data to grow. Later on in the presentation, we'll talk about some things that administrative services will do in the next year to really fine-tune our communication skills and our communication plan. And these are the types of tools that we'll be using to do that. All of these pieces together are what make the town the location of choice. that these are what make Riverdale Park special, and we're really proud of all of the great things that we've been able to accomplish over the last year. Now I think Brian's going to talk about the programs that we've also worked on over the last year.
Thank you very much, Director Barnes. Yes, I will first start off by talking about how we've addressed food insecurity. This became a focus during the spring of 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic, when we realized many of our residents were suffering from food insecurity due to job layoffs. And the town's response was on many fronts, including creating the Farmers Market Dollar Program, supplying over $200,000 to nonprofits who would in turn supply food to residents, and the installation of the previously mentioned food forest and community garden. I actually looked up the amount that was provided to residents and households through the Farmers Market Dollars program over the last 4 years, and it's just short of $900,000 over the last 4 years. The other programs that we've had to help our residents during these times that were not food insecurity based, but rather more general, are the Accessory Structure Grant Program, which helps with individuals and households that are trying to improve accessory structures such as sheds or fences along their property. We also have the Residential Emergency Repair Grant Program. This program helps households who are facing an emergency repair that they are struggling to pay for financially. Neighborhood Safety Improvement Grant Program provides grant funds to those who are taking proactive measures to help with neighborhood safety in town. So that would include either installing lights that point towards public areas, or cameras, or in some cases, I believe multifamily buildings have installed additional security measures to get into and exit their buildings. We also have the Flood Prevention and Damage Mitigation Grant Program, which is another proactive grant program, which allows residents who are making proactive attempts to prevent flood damage in their properties to receive grant funds. And over the last 12 months, we've distributed just short of $23,000 with these 4 programs. We also like to support our businesses. We have grant programs and a licensing program. Our licensing program now includes a more thorough property maintenance inspection, as we've adopted the Riverdale Parks Property Maintenance Code. So typically in the past, before that had happened, we would find property maintenance code violations, and that was the jurisdiction of the county. And so now we are able to address those more quickly, which is always a good thing. And speaking of grant programs, we have a handful of grant programs listed here. The Small Business Assistance Grant, which helps with late mortgage and utility, late rent and utility payments. And we also have the Business Growth Grant, which helps with more large scale build out items. So when it's going from a shell condition to a more fitted retail location, something of that nature, that would be more of a business growth grant, while the Commercial Appearance Grant Program is more of a facade type of grant. We do allow for some interior work, but it's mainly all customer facing for the Commercial Appearance Grant. We have the Celebrating Business Initiative, which celebrates both those businesses that are just opening for the first time and those that have been here and are celebrating an anniversary. We have the next 3 programs are very similar to the residential counterparts. So we have the Neighborhood Safety Improvement Grant Program, the Commercial Emergency Repair Program, and the Flood Prevention and Damage Mitigation Program that also apply for commercial properties as well. And over the last 12 months, the town actually received $75,000 to bolster our Commercial Appearance Grant Program from the Department of Housing and Community Development. We were eligible for a grant program from DHCD because of our status as a sustainable community. And now I'll change gears a little bit. We'll talk a little bit about development in town. And I'll start off by talking about the development that we are expecting and where those projects are right now. So many of these projects have been before the council during council meetings very recently. So I won't I won't bore people too much, but the Lofts is currently are meeting regularly with the LMUTC committee, speaking about their proposal for a multifamily project at the corner of Rhode Island and Queensbury Road. Yes, for Queensbury Road, and then the next project here is the Chambers project, which is what I'm referring to it internally on the detailed site plan that the developer has submitted to the county. It's called Al Kareem, but I believe that's also the name of the developer's company. So for right now, the placeholder is the Chambers project. That would be another mixed use project that's going to take the footprint of the Chambers Funeral Home and convert that into a mixed-use project. The next two projects, the Riverdale Park Station and Plaza del Alamo, were spoken about recently at mayor and council meetings. The Riverdale Park Station project includes the expansion of 2 more apartment complexes, while the Plaza del Alamo is it was described as an extension of the shopping center. We also see 2 other sites that are poised for redevelopment. We have the Riverdale Plaza Shopping Center just to the east of Kenilworth Avenue and south of 410. The property owner has shared with the town staff that as soon as the Purple Line station is complete or nearing completion, they plan on redeveloping that site. In order to develop the site to its maximum potential, they do need to have the Purple Line a little bit further along. So they are currently waiting for that to get a little bit further along. The other project is 6201, 0305 Natoli Place and 4709 Rittenhouse. So 4 lots that are available for sale and advertised as transit-oriented development opportunity. The other projects would include infill development. That would be 5016 Oglethorpe Street, 5408 Casada Road, 5406 Casada Road, and 5004 Ingraham Street. These properties are currently listed for sale online, and some of these are vacant lots, while others require some considerable reconstruction before they're inhabitable. Yes, I can speak briefly to the Purple Line. On Saturday, we had a meeting with the Purple Line, with staff from the Purple Line who came out and provided an update on what is happening with the Purple Line. There's actually a video up on the town's website. And one of the notable items was that the intersection on Kenilworth will have nightly closures through April. But we are very excited to see the Purple Line continuing to make progress. Next, I will speak about the accessible base. I'll give a brief overview of the accessible base, then go into a little bit more detail. So in general, the bulk of the town's revenue is derived from the accessible base. The way we make sure that the accessible base continues to grow is to have our properties maintained and encourage development through the installation of new infrastructure. New development tends to have a significant impact on the accessible base and allows the town to afford even more amenities for its residents. This is a graph showing the accessible base, the net accessible base as described on the constant yield tax rate notice over the last 8 years, sorry. And then we can see there that it's growing rather steadily, which is a good sign, as the town manager mentioned before. I did also have a slide here about the reassessment. The state has triennial reassessments, and Riverdale Park is in the reassessment area for next year, 2025. And that the triennial reassessment in 2025 will be reflected in the 2025 budget. And I just showed that the highlighted items here in orange were the years where we had a little bit more uncertainty. And that was because the may or may not have been directly because of the triennial reassessment, but there does appear to be a correlation that we don't necessarily have that linear growth during those years. So it doesn't mean that necessarily that it'll decrease again next year, but it is something to keep an eye on, and it's part of why our budget team is being very conservative with the budget and their preparations. I'd also like to point out one of the impacts of development is seen here in 2018, where we saw the percentage growth grow up almost 20%, which really increased the average across the last 8 years of our assessable base here, allowing us to remain above inflation. Right, and then the next slide here talks a little bit about housing. I'm sorry, I had to move around some screens. The next slide here talks a little bit about housing, because while the development is necessary in order to increase the accessible base, it also is a two-sided coin. So for those who are renting, the increase in rent as brought on by the increase in development in the area does tend to have a negative impact. So I did find in the recent American Community Survey that nearly half of renters spend about 35% or more of their income on rent, which would indicate affordability issues. There's also I guess 14% of homeowners also spend more than 35% of their income on housing. So while the development does increase the accessible base and increases the amount that the town can spend on infrastructure items, and in the budget, it also does have housing affordability costs that we should monitor and take into consideration as well. One of the things I'd like to highlight is that on December 8th, the Washington Commanders announced that they'd be relocating their operations in Riverdale Park. This also brought along with it approximately 200 jobs to the area. And this is one of the ancillary benefits of having new development in an area. They moved into 4600 River Road, which is one of our new office buildings over on River Road. And so, yes, I just wanted to take a moment during those couple of slides to show the benefits and the I guess the pros and the cons, each side of increasing the accessible base and new development. So this is definitely one of the big pros, was having the Washington Commanders and their 200 jobs come to the area. All right, I think this is also my slides as well. Yes, so I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the demographics of Riverdale Park. And the first item was talking a little bit about the diversity that the town manager mentioned before. I did see in the American Community Survey that a majority of our residents speak a language other than English at home, which makes it even more important that the communication efforts that OAS has put forward to have our town crier go out in multiple languages, and the efforts that all of the department heads take when hiring new staff members to have them be able to at least speak a little bit in Spanish at some point, so that they can communicate with majority of our residents. I also found this information in the American Community Surveys showed that while just over 28% of our residents have a bachelor's degree, which is slightly less than what it is in the entirety of Maryland on average, we do actually have a higher employment rate in Riverdale Park than we do on average in Maryland and even in the United States as well. And so I thought that was some good information for the mayor and council to possess when making policy decisions in the future. So at this point, I'll turn it over to, is this John?
Yes, thank you, Director Shelton, for sharing a lot of detail in a short amount of time. Wanted to just pause briefly to recognize the elected leadership. And I can report on the town operations and what we're doing and on financing and that, but none of that is possible without the vision that the mayor and council lay out for the staff team. I can point to the 27 resolutions and 10 ordinances adopted in 2023. I can't count the number of questions that have been posed to the staff team during that same period. Questions that helped us refine what it is that we were presenting, questions that refined plans for budget, plans for CIP, plans for community engagement, development of new projects and programs. I will point out that that some of the programs that we have are the direct result of not of staff's efforts, but the direct result of the elected leadership saying, have you thought about this? Can you explore this? Can you make this happen for us? And it's that sort of direction and leadership that allows all of this to occur. And with that, I'm going to ask Paul to share with us who are we as an organization. So Director Chelton just walked us through who we are as a community, a diverse community. Director Smith, if you can walk us through who we are as an organization.
Thank you, Mr. Lustician. Next slide, please. Next slide. So here we have the demographics of our employees, and we're proud to highlight the organization's diverse mix, and our diversity spans across age, gender, race, and we're proud of that. And we believe that diversity matters. On an average tenure, we have 8 years. The average age is 41. The gender mix is 77 male, 77% male, 23% female. And I'll speak to that in a minute. We have 48 current employees with 52.75 positions. We have a couple of positions we need to fill. Head count by department, of course, public safety covers 60% of the staff count. Public works 15%, and general government 25%. 35% of our staff are bilingual. And I just wanted to look at the tenure for a minute in the green box at the bottom. As you see, we have a range from, actually, if we include today, we have staff from 1 day to 10 years. And, you know, when we look at the 10 years, the 6 to 9 years, we have 14 people that have been here over 10 years, and some of those have been over 20 years. And I think that's a testament to the town's commitment to creating an inclusive environment, and to the fact that we value the contributions of our employees at all stages of their careers. So I just wanted to bring that point. And we have the head count here by department. Next slide. Thank you. The head count comparison based on gender. We will be the first to admit we do have a gender gap, and we're working to fill that gap. As I speak, we do have 2 additional females that will be hired in the next couple weeks. So we are focusing our recruitment to help fill the gender gap that we're currently experiencing here. And we believe that through mentorship and opportunities for growth, we will be able to do that. We also just wanted to briefly show the employee demographics on the ethnicity, and show that we're really a diverse community here. We're 31% African American, 33% white, Native American Hawaiian 2%, other 1%, Hispanic 29%, and Asian 2%. So we wanted to highlight our diversity and celebrate it, because I think since Town Manager Lustician has arrived, it's been one of his focus that we have a diverse employee base. And I think we've reached that point that we can say we're diverse and diversity matters. Next slide, and I might be out of slides, but oh no, one more. So the history of authorized positions, we've talked about this before, but we just wanted to bring it back up where we can show that we have had minimum growth over the years, and that for the most part, things was stagnant or stayed the same. So, but we did have a slight growth towards the last couple of years. And one of the things that we've been mentioning over the last few weeks is that staff is doing more and we need additional staff to continue. So I think we've already stated that we do intend to try to hire next year and to help fill some of those gaps. Next slide. And one of our themes have been and will continue to be for succession planning is plan tomorrow today. Plan tomorrow today. As we talked about a few weeks ago, the face of leadership will change within the next 3 to 4 years. And we believe succession planning is to secure tomorrow's success today. So we're planning ahead to make sure our team is always strong. Even as roles change, we keep moving, that we can keep moving forward. So some of the hires most of the hires we're making now, we're making them with the thought of tomorrow, today, and preparing ourselves for the future.
Thank you very much, Director Smith. So this is the staff leadership team. You're hearing from them tonight. We have two positions vacant, and we are a diverse group. We're a small group, and I will simply point to the accomplishments of this small core group of staff, and say that because of them and our residents and our businesses and the elected officials, the town is strong. And I sincerely appreciate their efforts. The next series of slides, each department's going to walk through their accomplishments and their goals. And then after that, we'll talk about budget for just a few minutes and then take questions. So with that, this is a list of our various departments. And first up, Director Barnes.
Thank you, Town Manager Lustischen. We're pleased to talk about the accomplishments over the last year for the Office of Administrative Services. The department coordinated and executed all of the town events that we just spoke about. It was a very exciting and busy year. We've disseminated the town-wide communications, created the first ever printed bilingual town crier, implemented new communication tools such as Constant Contact, which is also a bilingual communication tool. The Office of Administrative Services supported and coordinated the meetings of the Mayor and Council, the Ethics Commission, Board of Elections, and the Town Seal Design Committee. OAS managed the town's responses to the Maryland Public Information Act request to ensure transparency. The departments provided free notary services to the TRP community, and also provided all of the town departments with administrative support to include communications, outreach, engagement, and translation services. And last but certainly not least, the Office of Administrative Services leveraged partnerships with community stakeholders to bring events and music to town. And some of those were new partnerships. This year, we partnered with WABA to bring some very important bicycle safety classes to town. And we'll talk about on April 1st, some expansion of partnerships, hopefully into fiscal year 2025. Next slide, please. Some of the goals for fiscal year 2025 include launching a new town website, increasing inclusive programming throughout the year, Programming the community space in the newly renovated town hall. We are very excited to use that space and have all sorts of great ideas on how that can be used in the best way possible. We're going to work to refine the communication plan. We talked about new tools that were implemented over the last year, but refining those tools and making sure that we're reaching as many people as possible. We'll also need to grow the OAS team to meet the community expectations. So that includes a part-time position for events, and then a full-time position exclusively for communications. And that'll be discussed more during the budget process. We're going to work to develop stronger partnerships with community stakeholders and develop new partnerships. And then we're going to continue to automate and streamline the licensing and permitting process in town. Director Shelton?
Thank you, Director Barnes. All right, I'm going to start off by talking about the development services accomplishments. As we mentioned before, the Office of Development Services dispersed just over $250,000 to address food insecurity through the Farmers Market Dollars program. We identified some town-owned property for additional improvements, which will be included along with other CIP projects. We secured additional grant funds, as was mentioned before on earlier slides, and we've coordinated with partners to install new art throughout town. And we also strengthened the town's accessible base. There we go. Some of the goals for development services include investing in sustainable and green initiatives, carrying on a broader effort to secure additional grant funds, encouraging local business collaboration, increasing local artwork and sculptures, and protecting and expanding the town's accessible base. All right, I'll also go over the neighborhood services accomplishments and goals. So this year, Neighborhood Services implemented proactive measures to assist in removing blighted conditions like the vacant property program and additional property maintenance amendments. We developed and are developing and disseminating a guide to assist businesses with the adjustment to the new property maintenance code. We're administering the new property maintenance code to those commercial businesses. And we've implemented a software system for inspections that includes a portal for residents to file a concern. Some of the goals for neighborhood services include expanding the digital documentation and record keeping by digitizing our existing paper records. We are also seeking to enhance our online permitting process, increase staff efficiency through technology, improve training, and expand our multilingual resources. And with that, I will turn it over to Director Smith.
Thank you, Director Shelton. The Office of Employee Service Accomplishments, we've launched phase 2 of our TRP University, which is our training program. We've increased participation in employee wellness program by 30%. We've improved in time to fill jobs and the cost per hire. And of course, we've worked hard on diversity. We've updated the position descriptions. We've implemented the base pay competitive market review, and we've established an employee safety committee. Next slide. And our goals for next year is to enhance employee wellness, to implement a succession planning for key roles, to retain or develop strategies to retain top talent, to enhance employee communication through modernized solutions or technical solutions, and to decrease accidents in the workplace. And with that, I will turn it over to Deputy Director Jones.
Thank you, Director Smith. So I'll be covering the Office of Finance Services accomplishments. The first is the Distinguished Budget Award. This is an award that town has received for 6 consecutive years, offered by the GFOA, or the Government Finance Officers Association. Another accomplishment is enhanced transparency. We've introduced the revenue reports in addition to the monthly finance reports. Additionally, all audits, budgets, and other financial documents are accessible on the website. We've presented over 36 financial reports to the council as well as the public. Manage the annual budget within the allocated funds. Budget projection hits the mark. So yeah, the projections that we put forward in the budget, we actually did hit those numbers. And lastly, is the ARPA reporting and the audit. Office of Finance Service goals, convert all accounting procedures to a digital form. Next, to develop dashboard of key financial performance indicators. Enhance financial reporting. Alternative revenue sources, which would be grants. And lastly, a proposed position. And with that position, the goal would be to assist in the 4 goals that you see above, as well as bring reporting in-house, succession planning, and as well as to assist with much of what goes in finance services.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'll speak to some of the police department's accomplishments for the last year. The department has strived to recruit a diverse staff, and currently we are proud to say that 54% of the PD is bilingual. Just to put that in perspective, 23 years ago when I started, we had 2 bilingual positions filled. So we've come a long way. Each sworn officer this year has completed crisis intervention training for dealing with mental health crisis, as well as active bystander for law enforcement, which is the ABLE program we spoke about last year. This was brought up earlier, but the town successfully selected a vendor and entered into a contract with the Red Speed to handle our parking management system, which will allow residents to renew their parking permits automated, as well as enhance our citations. As the town manager mentioned earlier, we'll be able to quickly issue a computer-generated citation and get back to business at hand. This year, officers educated students at the College Park Academy in driver safety and drug awareness. The police department also participated in many community outreach events such as Coffee with a Cop, National Night Out, Toys for Tots, Trunk or Treat, Holiday Food Baskets, Career Day, and Walk and Bike to School Day. We increased our foot and bicycle patrols in commercial areas, as well as multifamily housing. You'll see us out and about as the weather has gotten warmer. We did a lot of our foot patrols in the wintertime in the multifamily units. We received some communication from the apartment manager. They were having some issues, and officers went in and conducted daily foot patrols in the evening and during the day. The town successfully launched a neighborhood safety camera program, and we are currently looking to for additional locations to add the cameras to that. Those cameras are monitored by our dispatch personnel, which is a great safety feature for our officers. If something happens to be on camera, we're responding, they can give us details ahead of time before they arrive. Next slide, please. So some of the department's goals from next year are: we're going to invest as we look ahead. We're planning to continue to grow the department in line with the town's diversity and inclusion policy while still maintaining our high standards. We have a female recruit officer scheduled to graduate the academy at the beginning of June. And we have a second female recruit officer scheduled to start the academy in April. To train. So Sergeant Saunders is a certified tactical medical instructor. He has developed a Maryland Police Training Commission approved patrol lifesavers course. The objective of the course is to get patrol officers to provide quality and timely medical care at the point of injury, bridging a gap between trained officers and responding EMS personnel. Each individual officer carries a IFAK, an individual first aid kit, which contains a tourniquet, compression bandage, impregnated gauze, occlusive dressing, as well as each cruiser is equipped with an AED. This year, we like to achieve, our goal is to have at least one certified traffic safety specialist officer per patrol squad. The TSS program is designed to recognize law enforcement officers for their experience, education, training, proficiency in highway safety and traffic enforcement methods, and to encourage professional development. To develop effective solutions that address local and statewide traffic safety issues, we must have personnel that are highly skilled in traffic safety. As just mentioned, and I believe all of our goals, but plan for succession. Currently, the PD has 5 members that are eligible for retirement. In the next 3 years, we expect 3 more members to be eligible. We don't foresee any retirements in the near future. However, we foster a culture of continuous development and have a plan in place. Engage. We recognize the importance of building strong community relationships, working with educators, religious organizations, in the community, and we will continue to participate in community events such as Career Day, driver and drug awareness training or education, Coffee with a Cop, National Night Out, Walk and Bike Drive to School, all the events we did last year and maybe a couple more. Thank you.
Okay, we in Public Works are very proud of our accomplishments this year. We installed the town's first protected bike lane on Rivertech Court. While we still have some work to do on the west end, we have installed flexible posts and wheel stops on most of the trail, the bike path rather, on both sides of Rivertech Court. We've installed to date 45 flashing traffic signs throughout town. There are 30 flashing stop signs and 15 ped crossing signs. We've distributed 13,200 leaf bags, and I believe that's up from 10,000 last year. And at the same time, collected only 4,200 cubic yards of leaves. We completed all 15 road improvement projects. We need to do some touch-up on several of them. As soon as we get a consistent pattern of warm weather, 24 hours of warm weather, those projects will be completed. The next one, we actually expect to complete phase 2 of the Trolley Trail lighting project with town-owned lights, both north and south of 410. We implemented or used for the first time our brine machine. We're pretty excited about that, using a GeoMelt, which is a combination of beet juice and a salt mix. We simplified leaf collection with an all-in-one leaf machine that was purchased earlier this year. We already talked about completing our first preliminary infrastructure survey. We continue to respond to most resident concerns the same day or the very next day. We're happy with our ability to do that, satisfy those resident concerns as soon as possible. And we've increased employee training this year in safety, park maintenance, given that we'll have up to 4 park projects within the next year, and training on the Stormwater Pollution Management Plan, or SWIP. Next slide. Our goals are to complete conversions of streetlights to 3,000 Kelvin LED. We thought we would have achieved that this year, but we've actually had to use some of our LED inventory to replace damaged streetlights and globes. I hope to map the infrastructure survey results, continue to replace gas-powered tools with electric-powered tools. We had a goal last year to complete that replacement of all of our equipment, but the electric ones are pretty expensive. So we have purchased what we could afford out of this year's budget and look forward to increasing the number of electric-powered equipment next year. We hope to secure an on-call construction contract for road improvement projects. In fact, the due date for proposals was today, and we received 5 of them. And so I look forward to reviewing them and coming to council real soon with a recommendation for entering a contract. To complete the walk, bike, drive infrastructure projects, especially those that are funded with ARPA dollars, and outsourced custodial services to all town buildings. Thank you.
So we've heard from the department leaders in terms of what they have done, what they plan to do. And I will simply say, I think we should all be proud of the accomplishments, of identifying our challenges and developing plans for new goals. We have quite a talented and dedicated team. And I will say that Riverdale Park is fortunate to have such a team. So it all comes to funding and moving forward. And so when we look at the history of our tax rate, Director Chelton, thank you. We've only went back to fiscal 2013, but the rate hasn't changed. And I mentioned earlier, I'm not in a position to propose what type of an increase tonight, but that will be in 2 weeks. But we do, or I will propose a rate increase specifically to pay for walk, bike, drive, safety-related CIP projects. Next slide. And so we have our various sources and uses. This is just to explain where funds come from and where funds go. The majority of our funds go to for salary and benefits. There's very little discretionary money in a municipal budget. And when we can you go to the next slide, please. So the mayor and council and the community have heard me talk about this a lot over the years. Revenue net operating expenditures. And so as the town's base grew, so did our revenue net operating expenditures. But then our operating expenditures grew and continue to grow. So that net continues to fall. So we went from a 2 million actual to a 1.2 actual to a projected 825,000 this year. And a good piece of that is in vacancy savings. So the last slide is about finding balance. And that's what the staff team is focused on trying to do in all of our efforts. We try to find balance. We know the vision. We embrace the vision. We know the values. We embrace the values. And so then we try to find balance in funding our values, in funding the vision as established by the mayor and council. And I mentioned earlier, but I think it bears repeating, that the staff budget team, along with the department leadership, we have balanced the operating budget. And being 2 weeks out from having to present the proposed budget, that's quite an accomplishment, especially in a tight year. But we think we have found the right balance to be proposed. And we're continuing to work on the CIP budget and the ARPA budget. So we've presented a lot of information tonight to the mayor and council and to the community. And this is a snapshot, a moment in time of where we are, what we've done, who we are, and who we are trying to be, that location of choice. And with that, Mr. Mayor and members of the council and the community, myself and the staff team are here to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager, for a fabulous state of the town presentation. A lot of information is in here. I will jump immediately to questions. It looks like we have a few council members with questions. I think the council member Foe was first. Go ahead, council member Foe.
Mr. Listician, I want to thank you and your staff for just a fantastic presentation. It's gotten to the point where I know that if I miss, I'll fall behind everybody else. It's always so informative. Our staff is always incredible. And just to have this kind of clarity as to where we are, where we're going, is really comforting from a resident perspective. And you all are just tremendously appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Foe. Councilmember Smith, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Listician, your staff, and your leadership team. Excellent, informative as always. Definitely worth missing trivia night at Town Center Market, which is less a comment about the presentation and more promotion of trivia night at Town Center Market in Ward 1 every Tuesday. I'm a politician and I love walking around talking to both residents and folks from outside of this town about how much is our town is doing, both in terms of the amenities and the resources that already exists, and what the needs are that we're going to meet. And it occurred to me watching this presentation that as much as I talk about those things, I have vastly undersold our town. And I think, I think about the litany of projects you've presented here that I can't wait to see actualized, and particularly about the demographic slide on our staff that, again, I get myself in trouble doing math in a public forum, but about half of our staff has come on in the last 3 years, if I remember correctly, and a significant number at 10 plus years. And that tells me that this is a place people want to work, and it's a place where people want to keep working. And the self-serving explanation of that is that the council and mayor have created a set of policies for the workplace that folks just really love. And I think the more realistic answer is that it's a testament to your leadership, Mr. Listician, the abilities of your leadership team, and the individual staff members who make it a wonderful place to work and are always trying to do great things for our town. Very proud of pretty much most of what's considered here, presented here. Have some significant concerns about a slide or two, but we'll follow up and have more conversations about that. But overall, this is a town that has been faced a number of challenges. When you think about our demographics, which we are very proud of, but they come with challenges, not to mention a plague and some tragedies, and your staff have met those challenges. So kudos to you. Really proud of what's presented here, and I hope you're proud of the work that the staff does every day. And in terms of comms plans, I know I've said this before. I'm absolutely available to help. I absolutely respect boundaries if you don't want that help, but it is my day job, so I'm happy to pitch in if that is something that staff would appreciate, and happy to stand back and watch you guys do great work if that's what you want as well. So thank you for everything, Mr. Listician. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Are there any other questions from members of the council or comments from members of the council? Councilmember Inyang, go ahead.
Good evening. I echo all the words that have been said in terms of the professionalism that sort of displays through a presentation like that. And so I can't, words don't describe in terms of just, I'm not sure if every town, especially of our size, is sort of putting a presentation like this together. We could take that with no voice track, send it out, and it says a lot about our town. And as a person that lives in PowerPoint, I appreciate that for sure. The question I have was around, I think from a resident perspective. You touched on so many things. Would love to know if there are particular points that residents should sort of take away in terms of, are there opportunities for us, taking my council member cap off, but just as a resident that I can do better, I should be more cognizant of or aware of? Are there ways for residents to sort of better support all the work that's happening? So that's one question. I think, and the second question is around when we talk about succession planning. I know there was that slide with the vacancies. I believe there were 2 vacancies on there. One was acting police chief, and the other one was like a deputy, someone in public works. I thought the public works, we just brought someone on more recently. I don't know if that has changed or if they're taking another role. So we'd love to get a little clarity in terms of some of the vacant positions, and then also what can residents do to better support all the work that's happened within the town. Thank you.
So in response to kind of key takeaways and what residents can do, I would say key takeaways, Riverdale Park has changed, is changing, and will change some more. Development is delayed, as I shared a few weeks ago, but development is coming. And we will be a very different town in 5, 7, and 10 years. Affordability is a concern with the growth. Gentrification is a concern with the growth. We're diverse now, and the council and the town as an organization embrace the diversity. That's something that we need to keep an eye on with new development. And we also have to make sure that whatever development occurs is quality development. We're fortunate with the development we've had so far being quality development. And I would say that residents should find a way and know that they're welcome and know that they're invited to plug into the current efforts, whether it's with the sustainability group. I'm looking forward to other opportunities for folks to get plugged into our Walk, Bike, Drive Safety initiative, perhaps not as part of the advisory group, but just to become involved. To volunteer for other efforts at our events. We hope to have approved the part-time position so we can have someone dedicated to coordinating events. But events take staff, events take volunteers. So I would encourage anyone who may not be involved now to let us know that if you're looking to become involved. And I think Director Barnes would appreciate having a longer list of go-to folks that can help in the coordination of events. So that's what I would say are key takeaways and opportunities to become more involved. And everyone should understand more about the budget. I would have that there as well. We have a very, I think, involved and thorough budget process, very public process. It's the most transparent document that we have. I think that getting input on how members of the community would like to see their contributions to the budget spent, I think is important. And so I would encourage folks to share their thoughts on the town's budget and financing and on community needs. So I hope that at least in parts answers your question, sir.
It did. Thank you for the first part. And then the other one was just around some of the vacancies on some, I think that's succession plan.
Yes. So on the succession plan, so we had briefly filled the one position. Things did not work out. And so we have a vacancy there. And then we have a vacancy in the police department as well on the leadership team. But we have other vacancies. But as Mr. Smith said, we're filling the vacancies, and as we fill them, we're looking with an eye towards succession planning and opportunities and retention. And so I think we have a good balance and a good approach there. And I think Director Smith, I think he does a very good job in diverse recruitment and diverse hiring.
Thank you.
Are there additional council questions or comments on the state of the town presentation? I don't see any. Are there any public comments or questions on the state of the town? This is your opportunity. Please raise your hand. Mr. Hardig, go ahead.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I've been meeting up with a group of other residents just to do some walking and biking audits to see if we can spot areas where pedestrian and bicyclist accommodations could be better in town. And I know the Director Lewis had suggested that public input would be welcome on that subject. So I'm wondering how best to give that sort of feedback.
I would suggest a number of ways. In the immediate, I would just send an email to Director Lewis. But in working with Director Barnes, I think we're going to have, and Director Barnes jump in if I have this wrong, but we're actually going to have a separate email for receiving concerns about how we move through the community so that nothing gets lost. Not saying that other things get lost, but sometimes things aren't on the top of a list, and these types of concerns need to be on their own list. And so Director Barnes, do I have that correct?
Yes, you do have it correct, and that'll be coming very soon.
Okay, great.
Okay. And then one additional question. Also, I've heard a few times about the formation of the Walk Bike Drive Committee and seen the calls for folks to make applications. I'm wondering if there's a timeline for when that committee might take shape and get off the ground.
Director Barnes, we've recently advertised for folks who have not previously submitted to send in their information. Is that correct?
Yes, we have. So we did a preliminary outreach to see if there was enough interest to create the committee. The mayor and council took action to actually establish the committee, and now we're just giving other folks an opportunity to weigh in. So it should be very soon. We're just still collecting a little bit more interest. We'd like to have it go out in the town crier in April and then compile all that information for the mayor and council to review.
Okay, thank you very much.
And thank you for being here, sir.
Mr. Hardig, I will say that I'm hoping we may not hit this goal, but I'm hoping that we can appoint the committee at the May legislative meeting early in May. I may be a little bit aggressive, but I'm hopeful for that. If not, there'll be a special legislative later in the month to approve the budget, and we can probably do it at that time.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate the information. It's an issue that's close to my heart, so looking forward to any progress. Thank you.
Fantastic. Are there additional public comments or questions on the state of the town presentation? Well, seeing none, I will close by my own sort of comments. I have a few questions that came up during, but I'll cover those with the town manager directly later on, and just say that every year I'm sort of always up to my ears, sometimes a little bit over my head at times, in what the town is up to, and keeping track of exactly what's going on as a part-time mayor, as someone who has a day job, is always a little bit difficult. And this presentation every year takes my breath away at the vast scope and depth and intensity of activity that town staff are working on all these projects. It just all gets presented in just an hour and a half or 2 hours. And it is inspiring to me, and it is energizing to me. And I appreciate both the presentation and the work of all town staff, and particularly the leadership team and you, Mr. Town Manager, at moving the town forward and making this the destination of choice for residents, businesses, and visitors. And I can't thank you and the staff enough. There's no way that I can do that except to just give you my heartfelt thanks and say that the town of Riverdale Park runs through my veins. It's something that I'm part of, that I've been part of for 30 years. Come this summer, I've lived in Riverdale Park for 30 years when July ticks around. And I can't imagine wanting to live anywhere else. But at the same time, I have an imagination, I have visions of ways we can make it better. And you and the town staff work to make my visions and those of the rest of the community real. And so thank you very much, both for the presentation and for your continued work. And with that, unless there are any other questions or comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you
Thank
very
you all
much.
very much.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.